Do you know what gets you absolutely nowhere in Thailand faster than a monsoon rain ruins your freshly pressed shirt? Quoting the European Convention on Human Rights to an immigration officer who has just denied your visa extension. I once watched an American expat wave his smartphone in an officer's face, screaming about constitutional rights and due process, and I have not seen him since, but I do hear he is living very happily in Cambodia now. Your home country's Bill of Rights is about as useful in a Thai immigration office as an umbrella in a hurricane. Technically present, entirely pointless. In Isaan, we have a saying: the buffalo does not complain about the farmer's stick. And let me tell you, the immigration officer is the farmer, and you, my friend, are the buffalo. Congratulations, you have arrived in the land of smiles. Now wipe that smug grin off your face and prepare for the most humbling experience of your expat life. Right then, settle in with your Chang beer, because I have something to say that might ruffle a few feathers. Besides, if you are one of those expats who still thinks your home country's laws follow you around like a loyal Labrador, you are going to want to hear this. I have been living in Isaan for over a decade now. The rice fields, the sticky heat, and the soy dogs that eye you up as if you are a walking pork chop. Besides, in all that time, I have watched a parade of Westerners arrive with their suitcases full of entitlement and their heads full of nonsense about rights and fairness. Here's the thing nobody tells you before you board that plane. Your home country's immigration rules are about as relevant to your life, your Thai life, as a snow shovel in the Sahara. Let me paint you a picture. You are sitting in the immigration office in Udon Thani. The air conditioning is struggling. The queue is longer than the queue for the last boat off the Titanic. And you have been clutching your paperwork for 3 hours like those that it is a winning lottery ticket. You finally reach the desk, and the officer, let us call her Kun Nok, because that is what everybody else calls her, looks at your application and frowns. Then you do it. You open your mouth and say something like, "But in my country we have a right to appeal this decision. The law states that..." Stop right there. I want you to imagine that immigration officer's face. I have seen it 100 times. It is the expression you would wear if someone tried to pay for his or her groceries with monopoly money. Confusion, followed by a mild amusement, followed by a deep, profound desire to never see this person again. Because here is a brutal truth, and I am not sugarcoating it, because sugar is expensive in this economy. Your home country's constitution is a ghost in Thailand. It has no power, it cannot speak. Besides, it certainly is not going to save you from a bureaucratic nightmare. Now, I want you to think about something, because I am asking you a question, but I am not going to answer it straight away, because I want you to really chew on it. Why do so many of us arrive in Thailand with this unshakable belief that we are somehow protected by the laws of a country we've voluntarily left? Go on, have a think. Is it arrogance? Is it ignorance? Or is it just the natural human tendency to cling to the familiar when we are surrounded by the unfamiliar? I will give you my take, but first, let me tell you about Dave. Dave was a retired police officer in Manchester. Lovely bloke, really. Could talk your ear off about football and sausages. However, Dave had a problem. He could not wrap his head around the fact that the Thai legal system was not just the British legal system, but with more spice. Dave got into a dispute with his landlord. Nothing serious. A broken air conditioner, a deposit dispute, the usual. However, Dave, in his infinite wisdom, decided to stand up for his rights. He cited UK tenancy laws. He threatened legal action. He demanded to speak to someone's supervisor. And do you know what happened? Absolutely nothing, because the Thai legal system does not care about UK tenancy laws. The landlord did not care. Nevertheless, when Dave tried to escalate, he found himself facing a wall of indifference that would have made the Berlin Wall look like a garden fence. Dave is still here, by the way. He is just much quieter now. Besides, he has learned that the only right you have in Thailand is the right to smile, nod, and keep your bloody mouth shut. You see, there is the beautiful delusion that many of us carry around like a comfort blanket. It is the belief that universal human rights somehow exist independently of geography. That if you have a right in London or Los Angeles or Sydney, you must have that same right everywhere else. That is not how it works. That is not how any of this works. Thailand is a sovereign nation. It has its own laws, its own constitution, and its own way of doing things. Besides, the moment you cross the border, you are a guest with a pretty stamp in your passport that can be revoked at any moment. Now, I can hear some of you already. I can hear your fingers hovering over the keyboard, ready to tell me about international law and treaties and reciprocal agreements. However, to that I say, have you ever tried to argue international law with a Thai immigration officer? Go on, try it. I will wait. The thing is, international law is like the rules of a ball game that nobody agreed to play. Yes, it exists on paper. Yes, there are committees and conventions and all sorts of fancy words that make people feel important. However, at the practical ground level, I need my visa extension. Reality of life in Thailand is about as useful as a chocolate teapot. Here is where we need to talk about the fairness fallacy. That is my term for it, and I'm quite proud of it actually. The fairness fallacy is the belief that the world operates on a logical, linear system of justice. That if you follow the rules, fill in the forms correctly, and present yourself properly, you will be treated fairly. It's a lovely idea. I would like to live in that world. However, we do not live in that world. We live in a world where fairness is a localized myth, a story we tell ourselves to feel better about the arbitrary nature of bureaucracy. Let me give you an example. My friend, let us call him Gary, who shall not be named, went for his retirement visa extension last year. He had all his paperwork, he had the 800,000 baht in the bank, he had done everything by the book. However, he still was bounced. Why? Because the officer at the desk did not like the way his passport photograph looked. Said he looked untrustworthy. Now, you and I might think that is unreasonable. We might think that is unfair. Nevertheless, here is the thing. Unfair does not matter. Gary could have argued. He could have cited regulations. He could have demanded to see a supervisor. Besides, you know what would have happened? He would still be sitting in that office waiting for a decision that would never come. Instead, Gary smiled, went back the next day with a new photo, got his stamp and went home. What's more, that is the lesson. Bureaucratic logic does not have to make sense to you. It just has to work. Now, let us shift our perspective for a moment. let us look at this from the other side of the desk. Imagine you are the immigration officer. You have been sitting in this office for 8 hours. The air conditioning is broken. There is a queue of 50 people, most of whom do not speak your language. Then in walks Mr. American Executive with his printed out Constitution and his phone full of legal citations. What do you think? I would tell you what you think. You think this person is a threat. You think this person is arrogant. Besides, you think this person is going to cause you paperwork. However, in that moment, you are not thinking about fairness or due process. You are thinking about how to get this person out of your queue as quickly and efficiently as possible. That is the reality of the power dynamic. The immigration officer holds all the cards. You hold a handful of hopes and dreams that have no legal weight whatsoever. Here is where we need to talk about the current situation, because 2026 has brought some changes that make this whole conversation even more urgent. The digital tracking systems are getting smarter. The Thai government is implementing more sophisticated checks on visa compliance, and the era of common sense explanations, the kind that Westerners love to rely on, is well and truly over. In the past, you might have been able to charm your way through a visa problem. You might have been able to explain that your paperwork was late because of a family emergency, that you misunderstood the regulations or the requirements, or that you would sort it out next time. Not anymore. The 2026 system is about strict compliance. It is about checking boxes. It is about the cold, bureaucratic reality that every document must be in order, every date must be correct, and every signature must be genuine. And the immigration officers, they have less discretion than ever. They are following protocol, and protocol is not interested in your circumstances. So what do? We adapt. We survive. We learn to play the game by the rules that actually exist, not the rules we wish existed. Here's a story that still makes me laugh. There is this expat in our village, a German fellow named Klaus. Now, Klaus is a wonderful man, but he has the emotional intelligence of a brick. Last year, he was at the immigration officer and his visa application was flagged because of a small discrepancy in his bank statement. Klaus, in his infinite German wisdom, decided to explain the situation. And by explain, I mean launch into a 20-minute monologue about the precision of German banking and how this could never happen in Frankfurt. The officer listened politely, nodded a few times, then stamped Klaus's application denied. Just like that. But here's the funny bit. Klaus was so caught up in his explanation that he did not even notice what was happening. He kept talking. In Germany, we have systems, he said. We have checks and balances, we have. And the officer just sat there stamping denied on other applications while Klaus continued his lecture. It was not until the officer called next that Klaus realized he had been rejected. Now, Klaus lives about 3 miles from me. Every time I see him, he is in a slightly worse mood than before. However, he is learning. Slowly, painfully, but he is learning. Here is what it really comes down to. You are a guest, and guests do not make demands. Guests do not threaten legal action. Guests do not cite foreign precedents to their hosts. Guests say thank you. Guests smile. Guests understand that everything they have is a privilege, not a right. And you know that is a hard pill to swallow. I know because I struggled with it myself. There were times in my first few years here when I wanted to scream at the unfairness of it all, when I wanted to quote the Magna Carta and demand my rights like some medieval baron. But I learned. I grew up. I realized that the only person I was hurting with my anger was myself. Because here is the thing about Thailand. It does not care about your feelings. It cares about compliance. It cares about order. It cares about stamping your passport and moving on to the next person in the queue. And once you accept that, once you truly internalize it, something remarkable happens. You find peace. I know that sounds ridiculous. I know that compliance and peace seem like two opposite things. However, stick with me here because this is where it all comes together. When you stop fighting the system, you stop exhausting yourself. When you stop expecting fairness, you stop being disappointed. When you stop citing foreign laws, you stop creating conflict. Instead, you focus on what matters. You get your documents in order. You arrive early. You smile politely. You accept the stamp with gratitude. And you know what? It works. I have watched so many expats rage against the machine, and I have watched the machine grind them down. However, I have also watched the smart ones, the ones who understand the game, glide through the system like butter on a hot pancake. That is the freedom of total compliance. It is not about giving up your dignity. It is about understanding that dignity in Thailand looks different than it does in London or New York. Let us be clear about what we are facing in 2026. The right you have is the one granted to you by the stamp on a given day. That is it. That is everything. That is all that matters. Your country's constitution is a tourist brochure in a drawer somewhere. Your citizenship is a piece of paper that has no power here. Your legal training, your political connections, and your family name, none of it matters at the immigration desk. The only thing that matters is whether your paperwork is correct, whether you have followed the rules, and whether the officer on duty feels like stamping your passport. That is terrifying. However, it is also liberating because once you accept that reality, you stop living in a fantasy. You stop pretending that your Western legal framework protects you. You stop making decisions based on what should happen and start making decisions based on what actually happens. And that's the difference between a frustrated expat and a successful one. I have watched the transformation happen. I've seen it myself and I've seen it in others. The transformation from entitled outsider to well-informed resident. The transformation from someone who thinks they have rights to someone who understands they have privileges. The transformation from someone who argues with the system to someone who works with it. It is not an easy journey. There are plenty of bumps along the way. However, it is a necessary one if you want to survive in this kingdom. Besides, let us be honest, none of us came to Thailand because we wanted to recreate the tedious bureaucracy of our home countries. We came for the warmth, the food, the culture, the lifestyle. We came because there is something magical about waking up to the sound of monks chanting and the smell of sticky rice. Why would we want to ruin that by fighting with immigration officers? Therefore, here is my challenge to you, my fellow expat travellers. The next time you find yourself in an immigration office, resist the urge to explain, to justify, or to reference the laws of the country you have left behind. Instead, try this. Smile, nod, hand over your documents and say with genuine gratitude, "Thank you for your time." See what happens. I cannot promise you will never face a bureaucratic hurdle again. I cannot promise you will never feel frustrated. However, I can promise you will stop making the situation worse than it needs to be. Besides, isn't that worth something? I will leave you with this. You know that question I asked you earlier. Why do we cling to the laws of our home countries when they are powerless here? The answer is simple, and it hurts to say it, because admitting they are powerless means admitting we are too. Moreover, that is a frightening thought for anyone who has built his or her identity around being in control. Nevertheless, here's the thing, and this is the part that has taken me a decade to learn. Surrendering control is not the same as losing it. When you stop fighting the system, when you stop demanding fairness that does not exist, when you stop expecting the world to conform to your Western sensibilities, you gain something far more valuable than rights. You gain peace. You gain adaptability. You gain the ability to actually enjoy the incredible privilege of living in this beautiful, chaotic, utterly illogical country. So, let go. Drop the baggage. Stop pretending that the rules that worked in your home country have any power here. Embrace the cold, bureaucratic reality. Then go have a beer. Because if there is one thing that Thailand teaches you, it is that life is too short to spend it arguing with immigration officers. Right. That is me done. I have a cold chang waiting for me and a soy dog to argue with about whose territory this really is. Until next time, smile, stay humble, and for goodness sake, leave your constitution at the border. It was never going to help anyway. Now, if you will excuse me, I am off to practice my Thai smile. It is the only documentation I truly need. Bye-bye.